The best bits of Florida, the Noles, no snow, no state income tax, and the white sands of the Gulf beaches. And the White Sands Breakfast Blend from DeLuna Coffee. A combination of 5 different beans, some roasted to a light roast, some to a dark roast. The end product, a perfect blend that will perk you up better than a day on the beach. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com to browse all their top shelf blends and check out their Facebook and Instagram. DeLuna Coffee, all one word. DeLuna Coffee, proudly owned and operated by the Lemmix family. Loyal and passionate FSU alum.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up.
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hujavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's going on? It's Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. How about the midnight shift, everybody? You're wondering what coffee you want to get. It's a nice medium and dark roast, and every bag of this Pensacola Police Midnight Shift coffee supports the Rally Foundation. The Rally Foundation for Childhood Cancer Research. It's a nonprofit that empowers volunteers across the country to raise awareness, Aslan, and funds for childhood cancer research to find better treatments with fewer long-term side effects and ultimately cures. So, I don't know. Help cure cancer. Get your day better. Help out a Florida State family. Help me out. Use the promo code WARCHANT15. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Don't forget, 7 p.m. tonight, Thursday, live recruiting show on YouTube with Michael Langston. Things getting down to the nitty-gritty here, Corey Clark. We got decommits at Florida. Florida State trying to close the deal. I think Ira's got a story going up on the front page about the numbers that need to happen here in terms of attrition over I don't know how many more days and weeks that could allow Florida State to sign 32 new players. Exciting times in the kingdom. And now that you're here, I'm excited. How are you, Corey?
Good, buddy. Yeah, and it's I think that's already up on our site. And yeah, this is a time, man. This is really is I'll admit I'm a shill for the company I work for. I would never deny that. We all want people to join our site and read our stuff, but man, other than the football season, even more, maybe more importantly than the football season, this next week, man, and maybe even the next 2.5 months because of this, the portal, it's really, it's paramount that you get on our site with all the inside info that you can get on the message boards and everything, things that aren't for public consumption necessarily on a free podcast. Get up on that site, get up on that premium recruiting board, and see all the nuggets that Michael Langston is dropping, because this is how you build programs. The next week, next Wednesday, and then all the portal stuff.
All the portal stuff. That is right. Again, don't forget, 7 p.m. live recruiting show on our YouTube channel. At the end of the podcast, we'll tack on the one-on-one I did with, well, not really one-on-one, but it's the video that we did with Ira, where Ira kind of broke down where Florida State stands in their pursuit of Vince Tyra from the University of Louisville. By the time you hear this, he might be hired. But as we record this on Wednesday evening, the University of Louisville Board of Trustees met, and all the obstacles and roadblocks between Florida State and Vince Tyra have pretty much been vanquished. His non-compete has been removed, as well as, I guess, his notice that he had to put in if he was going to leave his position. Who knew it? Even if you're an AD, you still need to put your 2 weeks in, everybody. Look at that. They're just like you and I. Everybody just put their pants on and sign their contracts, one keystroke, one pen stroke at a time. So Ira's got the latest on that. But it does seem pretty imminent here, Corey, that Florida State's found their guy. Strong business background. Been doing this for 3 years now, I think, at Louisville. Maybe something that we haven't talked about. He was the AD when Jordan Travis was at Louisville, and this was before the whole one-time transfer thing had gone through. So maybe we can be a little bit thankful to him that he didn't become a jerk and try to stand in the way of this. It seemed like Louisville did all they could to help move that thing along. So otherwise, fans of Louisville not really bummed out that they're going to be losing him. But then again, Oklahoma fans have turned on Lincoln Riley. So there you go on that one.
Yeah, usually fans are going to find, a reason to be like, oh, good riddance. to most of these type of things. But as a Florida State fan, I would hope people would understand this is like we've talked about, and Ira, I'm sure, talks about it more at the end of the show, is this is the first, like, real AD, a guy that had already done it and had done it, at a high level that Florida State has had in 20 years. Again, Spetman was from Utah State. Wilcox had never been an AD, and clearly it wasn't a great fit because he immediately got out of the AD game after a couple of years at Florida State, and then maybe 5 years at Florida State. I can't remember how long Stan was with us. And then, he's still alive. I don't want to speak like he passed away. He's still alive and living very comfortably, I'm sure. And then Coburn was an interim that became kind of a permanent guy for 2 or 3 years as they went through the mess of the last 2 years. Now you got a guy that's from Louisville that's done it at a high level in your conference. So that should, you hope, bode well. And like we've talked about, how many coaches is he going to hire over the next 2 or 3 years? I don't know. Probably not many. You wouldn't think. You're pretty good at most of your sports. But man, you got to raise money, be out front, be steering the ship, and figure out a way to raise money and compete with the schools you're competing with on the football field. So who knows? Who knows how it'll work out? But I can understand how Florida State fans would be, cautiously optimistic or just straight up encouraged. Like, you do have a guy in there that has done this for a while at a big school. That's certainly an upgrade over what you'd had previously, just in that regard of the experience.
Yeah. No denigration towards David Coburn. His job
at all.
Was
to
balance the budget. He did so. So there's that. It's a Renegade Express edition of the program. There was a question I was going to ask you, but our guy Bradley Moss, 22, is going to put us on that track here. Third question. Let's go to the first question. It's Ralph, Spartan Noles 71. Aloha, guys. How's it? Although I'm extremely happy that the soccer team won the national title, I was bummed that the game was moved to Monday instead of Sunday, thus not allowing me to make that 7-hour drive from San Diego to Santa Clara. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a bummer, man. Not too often I get a chance to see our teams live. While staying on the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, I was able to see new recruits being put through the process of becoming the world's finest, and even got to watch a graduating class. America, you now have 248 newly trained Marines ready for action. Could not help but notice that the parade deck is on the corner of Russell Avenue and Seminole Street. Who knew? I returned to Hawaii on December 7th so that I could be home in time to be with Miss Ingrid on her birthday. Well, happy birthday. I was going to say Merry Christmas, but happy birthday,
throw it
Miss
all
Ingrid.
in there.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say December 7th because Pearl Harbor.
Right.
That would have been natural too, but either way, man, congratulations, and obviously it's a day we'll never forget, both for both reasons, I guess.
I have not been able to listen to the shows earlier in the week, so if you've addressed this topic, please forgive me. My question for the week is, what were your thoughts on Kenny Pickett's fake slide that allowed him to run for that touchdown during the opening drive of the ACC championship game Saturday? Love you guys, but you already know that. Mahalo and go Warchant. Hoorah.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier in the week. I'm not a big fan of it. The one thing that I would say in his defense is there was so much room between him and the safety. Like, it wasn't. I have a bigger problem with the guys that run right up to the safety and then dive at the last minute and get a targeting call. I think that bothers me even more than what Pickett did. But it was a little. It was a little dirty pool, right? Like, you're taking advantage of a guy not trying to get a penalty because you're protected at all costs, and then you fake a dive to just run around him and make him look silly. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but those are the rules. These guys have been conditioned to not breathe on anyone when they act like they're about to slide. But I tell you what, I know he's probably not going to play in the bowl game, but if he won't try that in the NFL, because if he tries it once in the NFL and does that, the next time he'll be thrown into the crowd. He will not do that again. I will imagine that is the first and only time Kenny Pickett does something like that.
By the way, his OC, Mark Whipple, resigned on Tuesday, and Wednesday he was hired by Nebraska. So
there you go.
It's all falling apart around Narduzzi, losing his quarterback, losing his OC. So the vacuum is forming, Corey, for Florida State to return to prominence in the ACC. I'm here for it.
That's right. The ACC champs are getting worse.
Yeah.
It's crazy that Pitt is the ACC champs, but they are, guys. It happened in our lifetime.
It's a real world thing.
Before Miami, it should be pointed out.
Random_John. You can call him just John, Corey. Good morning. Good morning from Tallahassee, Aslan and Corey. Are you in Tallahassee, or do you mean good morning to us? Is he in Tallahassee? I didn't even know that. I'm just going to keep reading what the words are on my screen. Good morning from Tallahassee, Aslan and Corey. We landed an hour ago, and our honeymoon is officially over. Good luck, John. Mexico was a dream, and I want to go back to Mexico like I want to go back to the old days of college football before TV money took away what made the game special. You know, the days when we mostly talked about the games and the players and less about what coaches get paid what or how it is with the ACC network and how it sucks so hard and that their commercials clearly are filmed by a high school audio-video club with no money. Speaking of money and the new reality, what do you both believe FSU can do long-term to keep up with the new financial landscape of college football? Do you feel we are a base model Honda Civic racing against Ferraris? Are we cash hoarders unwilling to spend? What is the future for FSU and its money?
Well, I definitely wouldn't say the latter. I don't think they're cash hoarders. I think they're spending most of what comes in. Again, they're spending upwards of $7.5 or $8 million on the head coaching position at Florida State. It's just that a lot of that is going to a guy that's not coaching there. And then when Jimbo left, and I know the narrative when he left was that, you know, he was looking for facilities and his assistants weren't paid much. And, you know, they were like number 8 in the country in assistant salary when Jimbo left. That was just 4 years ago. So they keep up with the Joneses on the salaries for the most part. Now, the gap keeps widening, so we'll see what it's like when Norvell, you know, say Norvell goes 9-3 next year, and then a bigger job, quote unquote, comes open, and somebody offers them $9 million. Are you going to match it? Can you match it? That's the next question that we want to see. We'd all love to get there where your head coach is actually somebody that is being courted by a big school. That means he's had success at your school. But that's the next question. But I don't think Florida State is in the position where they're going to be lapped in coaching salaries necessarily. Not in the short term. And you hope in the long term, maybe in the next 8 to 10 years. I know there was some even talk about this on Wednesday by who was it? Mark Emmert, the NCAA president, talking about like a super conference and would this ever happen? Would that ever happen? Of course, he poo-pooed it all, but he says dumb stuff all the time that doesn't matter. It is out there. It's in the ether that college football will go through a seismic shift at some point, in my opinion, in the next 10 years. It's already going through it, but this is untenable. So I do think there will be a seismic shift. There will be new TV contracts because there will be a new playoff put in place at least in the next 3 or 4 years. And when that happens, we'll see how the money shakes out. Right now, they're getting lapped by Vanderbilt in revenue, football revenue. But maybe if the powers that be can figure out a way to make this more tenable for everyone, then they won't be so far behind. But yeah, right now, again, Honda Civic, I don't know against a Ferrari, but against, you know, what would you say, some Audis? Those are nice cars, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Having a coach that loves you is one thing. Getting paid to help your family back home is another thing. Then there's facilities. We do not have any of those super nice things of the other programs. As it stands, FSU has no football-only facility, no ridiculous splash hire for a coach or splash assistants. You never know. Might be able to get a really big-time linebacker coach. We definitely aren't competing with salaries, no petting zoos, chocolate fountain slides. So what is the sell here at Florida State versus Alabama or Georgia? If you were a 5-star making a business decision beyond possibly having a Johnson-esque season, what does FSU offer that the big money spenders do not have? I mean, I guess we have Guthrie's, so there's that. We got Zaxby's. How's that, John?
Yeah,
anyways, love you guys. Drink the Luna, subscribe to War Chant. As always, go Noles. Hey, it's still Florida State. You can still start here. It's a cool thing. It's pretty prestigious to be able to start and play football at Florida State. We're going to get better. They're going to win more games. You're going to get lots of notoriety. So those things are all real. Playing time, being utilized properly, offense for playmakers. Georgia ain't got an offense for playmakers. They got a walk-on playing quarterback. Who wants part of that? Right. It's nonsense.
Exactly. Look, and I would say this, 2014 and 15, they had a 29-game winning streak. It wasn't that long ago. And the landscape has changed a bit. It It's not like it's shifted that much in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, they've shown, even in 16, they were in the Orange Bowl. In 17, they were, I mean, it didn't turn out that way, but they were ranked number 3 in the country to start the season. So it's not as if Florida State hasn't proven, and kind of recently, that they can compete at this level. Now, why did Jimbo get these guys? Florida State wasn't paying him an outrageous sum of money when he took the job. The facilities were still the facilities. You were still behind Alabama and Auburn in these schools when it came to facilities, and maybe in coaching salary pool. You still finished number 1 in the country and then number 3 in the country or whatever it was. So you figured out a way. I think Florida State is still an appealing enough school. In fact, I know it would be. Look at their recruiting class. Like this isn't a Georgia Tech recruiting class. This isn't pie in the sky. Like, man, I hope somebody's just excited to come to Florida State and maybe we can get to 6 or 7 wins at some point in the next 5 years. I mean, as of now, you've got the number 1 player in the United States coming to Florida State. That tells you that Florida State is still an attractive destination, and let's see how the portal shakes out. But I know they're getting some interest for some really big portal guys, plus other huge recruits. Like, again, that's a big deal. That means a lot. That means that Florida State is still in the zeitgeist. Like, it still matters. So that I think is something that it proves that Florida State isn't that far off. Again, Pitt just won the ACC. Florida State certainly has more facilities and resources than Pitt. So it's just a matter of developing, coaching well, evaluating well. All that stuff comes into play, and you can still be relevant. Again, if they had the 12-team playoff right now, Pitt would be in it. So Florida, and you can't tell me you think Florida State is that far off of Pitt. Or if you looked at the game this year, that far off of Clemson, who, by the way, might be losing their OC now to Virginia. So anyway, I think I don't think the sky is falling where it's just never going to happen again. I think, you had a coach that was really good that left and did not recruit for you. You exacerbated that with not a good hire. And so that puts you in a 3 or 4 hole, but don't let that, 2016, 2014, they weren't that long ago. So let's not act like that was 1990s and it was all in standard definition. Like, they've won some championships in HD. So, they can get back there, I think. But, they have a bit of they're a bit hamstrung with the finances, but not through their own doing, just because they're in a conference that gets paid $24 million less than their rival conference in the South.
Do you believe Brett McMurphy's tweet that LSU offered Jimbo 8 years, $125 million? That's $13 million per year. They ended up getting Brian Kelly for, I think, 9.
No. Okay. No. It's just like, I don't know if it was McMurphy. It might have been Dennis Dodd, but somebody just threw out there, the Brian Kelly's going to get $15 million a year.
Yeah, it
it's
was
like,
Dodd.
what? Yeah, I mean, come on. So no, I don't believe that. That seems crazy. Who would have even leaked that?
Yeah,
Jimbo. To look how wanted I am. Look, hey everybody in A&M land, Aggie land. I know you're upset because we went 8-4 again, but look how honorable I am to turn down this kind of money to stay with this chump change y'all are giving me and all these ranches.
Well, I think Texas Ags also reported that too. But
then maybe it was Jimbo.
Yeah, whatever. Bradley Moss, 22. Here he is, everybody. Wake up. Wake up. I know this isn't Bulldog Express, but this question's for Corey.
Uh-oh.
How is it that Georgia has all that elite talent, but yet is having to rely on a 5'11 quarterback that used to be a walk-on? What if Jordan Travis was our quarterback? Do you think they win the Natty?
I think they'd have the same record they have right now. But, maybe he would have. Maybe they would have won that game with Jordan Travis as their quarterback, only because Travis doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. I think he threw 2 in the last 10 weeks, and one was a Hail Mary. And the other one, remember the other interception he threw against Syracuse when Cam McDonald just missed that block on the. It was just basically a screen to Treshaun Ward.
Yeah.
And the kid just blew up Cam McDonald, somehow intercepted. That's not on Jordan Travis. I mean, that was a crazy. Stetson Bennett's going to throw 2 or 3 passes a game, where you're like, good grief, what was he seeing? The answer is I don't know. Remember, it's the same quarterback. It's the same head coach that chose Jake Fromm over Justin Fields. And Georgia fans are quite worried that he is doing it again. Now, I don't think JT Daniels is Justin Fields, but I also don't think Stetson Bennett is as good as Jake Fromm. So it's odd. I know that you don't want to mess with winning. Like, Stetson Bennett was winning games, and he was putting up some nice numbers, and he does make plays now. Even in that game, he makes throws over the middle. He made some nice throws. He got hurt by his receivers a couple times. The Bowers kid catches 110 yards a game. Like, Bennett's got some game to him. Like he's got some McKenzie Milton to him, and I say that I think because of the same size and they can both move. I'm old McKenzie Milton, like not old, nice. Younger McKenzie Milton.
1.0.
But yes, I don't know, but trust me, it's a lot of consternation here in Georgia about what in the world is he doing with these quarterbacks, and is he going to cost himself another national championship by sticking with the less talented of the two options? But now do you go? JT Daniels hasn't played in 2 months.
Right.
Does he now start in the Orange Bowl against Michigan? I don't know. I would do it. I would do it.
Yeah, fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
Also, Jeff's boy, Max Johnson, has entered the transfer portal. Do you think we go after him? Lastly, great win for the women's soccer team. Hope those dynasty vibes make their way back to the football program as we continue the climb. Thanks, fellas. As always, go Noles. Thank you, Bradley Moss.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, I do. I don't know how hard you go. I don't even know how the portal really works. Like, I guess you text the kid and say, "Hey, man, saw you're in the portal. Can we come visit?"
You
it's
up?
like, yeah, man. All right. Hey, all right. I'm on the. Dillingham's got to get his Jordan Travis apparel ready, but then he's off on the road to visit these guys. I would think yes, you would go after him. I would think the only real. I don't know how much of a connection they had during his actual recruitment. I don't know how hard he was recruited by Florida State. I don't know if he's ever even met Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham before. He's from Oconee County, which is a suburb of Athens. I guess he could. They might think about him going there. I think isn't Brad Johnson married to Mark Richt's sister? Isn't it something like that? Or Mark Richt is married to Brad. There's some connection there where they're family members. But anyway, it's Brad Johnson's kid, and Brad Johnson, of course, was a player at Florida State in the early '90s. So there is a connection with Florida State in that regard, but I don't know what other connections there are besides that. But yeah, I think that would you guys know how I feel about Jordan Travis, but that would make your quarterback room a lot better. That guy's played in the SEC. He didn't have great games at times. He was even benched in a game, but his last throw was a game winner against A&M, and he threw for I think 300 yards in that game.
Getting blasted, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got something to him. Like, he's got some talent, especially throwing the football. And, that would make your team better. Because either way, whoever wins the quarterback job will be better because Max Johnson is on the team, because it's either Jordan Travis having to beat out Max Johnson or vice versa. And that'll make them better. But, I think they would make a run at him for sure. Don't you? It would almost be like dereliction of duty if they at least didn't text him and say, hey, man, are you interested at all?
I do wonder. I think he's more talented than Penix, but I think Penix, again, not that Penix is a legitimate target or there's talk going on about it, but if you're going to ensure, the USS Jordan Travis have a similar vessel, and I don't think you're going to find yourself in a kind of a position with what you had to do against Louisville, against NC State, where you put McKenzie Milton out there, and I guess we can blame it maybe on McKenzie's readiness physically. But I think part of it, too, also has to be what he's going to do to put stress on everybody on that field at all points of attack. So,
well, and maybe even bigger than – maybe not as big, but close to it, because quarterback's the most important position. But his brother's the number one tight end in the country and is a 2022 recruit. Like, he's a recruit in this class. And I would imagine, because he was committed to LSU, and he decommitted the same day his brother entered the portal, which leads you to believe they're a package deal. And if they're a package deal, buddy, there ain't no school in the country that loves tight ends like Florida State. I mean, they stockpile them. I was going to make a really bad Waco reference, and I'm glad I steered away from that. Good grief, Clark. Where did that come from? But anyway, they stockpile tight ends, and they don't have any great ones. This kid is considered the best tight end in the country, and they love featuring tight ends when they have a good one. They really do. They have screen passes for tight ends. They split them out wide. It's a very attractive offense for a tight end, I would think. So yeah, you would definitely, that would be an ultimate package deal to get a potential starting quarterback that started for a year in the SEC, and at worst is going to really challenge your incumbent starter at that position and make him better. And also, you get the best tight end in the country. That's a big deal. So yeah, they're going to go after him. It's a matter of, I'm sure they're interested in that family. I don't know how interested that family is in them.
Yeah. Man, LSU, they're just losing dudes left and right. They lost a wide receiver on Tuesday night from Mississippi, stand-up Jackson Academy, go Raiders. And then on Wednesday evening, a 4-star defensive end has entered the portal, Landon Jackson. He's 6'7", 273. That'll hunt. Let's call that guy, see what he's up to.
Yeah, call them all, man. Call them all.
Yeah, make it happen, Yak. There was a linebacker from Louisiana that was at UNLV that actually was really solid, but Michigan State got him. I was hoping we could maybe sneak in there, but make up for it.
I'll tell you what, it sounds like Mike Norvell needs to be calling Baton Rouge.
Hey-o.
It's a Garth Brooks reference, everyone. Yes. I did not know that. I'd never heard that song until I met the lovely Stephanie, and she's a huge Garth Brooks fan. So that one had somehow I knew a few of his. I knew Shameless, written by Billy Joel, by the way, and I knew Friends in Low Places and Thunder Rolls, but I'd never heard Calling Baton Rouge. But Stephanie loves that song.
Do you feel like you're the last one out when it comes to sports betting? Don't know where to start? Well, you got to start by understanding where the market is moving and which smart bets are out there, and have some fun while getting your information. It's called Wagertainment, and it's BetQL Daily, sponsored by FanDuel. Hosts Joe Ostrowski, Joe Giglio, and Aaron Hawksworth serve up all the info you need in the betting world, telling you where the markets are moving and why, and give you recaps on the biggest recent moments in sports. Again, check out the website. Type out BetQL Daily on your favorite search engine, and you'll see Odyssey will pop up in one of the first results. Click on it. You can see all their past shows. They break it down in easy-to-digest morsels. Or you can listen weekdays 9 a.m. to noon Eastern live on Odyssey, Spotify On Demand, or your favorite podcast app. If you're not sure where to start with sports betting, start with BetQL Daily, presented by FanDuel. Birds the Knoll Corey says, howdy, good morning, Merry Christmas, wake up. Thank you, Bird Knoll. He just got an absurd avatar. It's like somebody with crayons tried to draw the Seminole head logo.
Oh,
the new
right.
chief. Yeah, just
okay.
Disturbing. Side note, I would like to say I'm currently doing my schooling at a community college, but when I'm done in 3 semesters, I will be attending the greatest university known to mankind, Southeastern Louisiana. Question time. He's gonna come to Florida State. He's coming to Florida State. Shout out, Birds
all
the
right,
Knoll.
okay, good job.
I was trying to think of like a really obscure one. By the way, Birds the Knoll, I think if you email support@warchant.com with your student email address, you can get although you started here in October of last year, you would have to cancel and start again, but you can get 12 months for $12. Just saying. Question time. I'm not the most knowledgeable person when it comes to the transfer portal and how scholarships work. Either are we. Wrong account, but we'll try. I've read if a certain amount of players leave or transfer, you can bring in extra players. 32 total, I think. Knowing that, do you think Norvell and company are cleaning house with players who clearly aren't going to play so they can grab extra players? If so, do you bring in the extra players via portal or out of high school? And how many players from each position would you take more of? I would say load up on receivers and linebackers. Thoughts? Well, that 32, Corey, is that you can sign 25, and they've added a waiver, or they've added 7 more that you can tack on top of that via the portal. But to your point, Corey, the 25, you said this last week or yesterday, the 25 isn't limited only to high school players, and so you can mix and match, but you can bring in 32. Ira's got a really good breakdown, Birds and all. I hope you have seen that, but he's broken down the guys that have left via using all their eligibility or declaring for the draft, those who have left in the middle of the season, and those who have put their name in the portal since. And I think they still need close to 10 guys to leave, but that's a process that's going to be happening here in the coming days and weeks. So sounds like a big number, but it's just like eating an elephant, right, Corey? Just one bite at a time. Just bring one guy into the office and be like, hey, man, you're 3rd on the depth chart, and we're going to bring this guy in, so you're going to be 4th on the depth chart. So you can stay, but we probably don't have a lot of use for you. On a football.
I would think, it used to be frowned upon. Like every scholarships are 1 year renewable. Most people know that. Like when you sign with a university, you don't sign a contract for 4 years. It's a 1 year scholarship that you're signing, and they're just automatically renewed. And it's always been just kind of a point of fact that the university is going to renew your scholarship, whether you play or not, whether you're any good or not. They're going to honor the scholarship that you made. I wonder if that changes a little bit now that you can transfer at the drop of a hat. Like, I wonder, like, if you're going to feel if coach, because I think coach, I know Spurrier did it a couple times, but Jimbo wouldn't do it really. Bowden would never do it. Just like cut a kid and say, sorry, your scholarship's not happening. They would keep them on scholarship even if they couldn't play. I wonder if that goes kind of by the wayside now that, or maybe it's already gone that way, where coaches are like, look, man, I'm not renewing your scholarship. We've got to replace you because we have all these options. We didn't used to have these options, but now we do. And like, a second string right guard, you're like, okay, this kid can't really play at our level, but he certainly is better right now for us if in a pinch than a kid straight out of high school. Well, now you can go replace that second string right guard with a starting right guard and somebody that's better than him. So with all that calculus in play about who can replace these people, these players, I wonder if coaches get a little more loose with their scholarship renewals because the kids have so many more options now too. Like, it's not like you're just saying you can't play for us, you're done. You say, look, you need to put your name in the portal because you're not going to be here anymore. We don't have any room for you anymore. It's heartless, but hey, it's all a business now, man. It's all business. These kids are leaving. Look at LSU in Florida. Like, half their kids are leaving. LSU's had like 8 or 10 kids, good players transfer. So that's kind of the nature of the beast right now. So I wonder how much that's changed. And I can't remember the question because I just went on that stupid tangent.
Well, that's basically, so we've established that 32 is possible. They still need to get rid of, I hate saying get rid of, but they still need to process these 10 players. But, I don't know what the breakdown is going to be by position, but yes, portal-wise, receivers, linebackers, defensive linemen, cornerbacks. Not in that order. Defensive linemen, receivers, cornerbacks, linebackers.
And you think about they didn't even hit a home run in the portal last year. Like collectively, they hit a home run in Jermaine Johnson, and Keir Thomas was like a triple off the wall.
Well,
Jamie was a triple off the wall too. Jermaine Johnson was one of the best transfers in the country, maybe the best.
Yeah.
But so you got, plus when you throw in Dylan Gibbons, you got 4 guys that could really play. Parchment gave you a great play, but he wasn't what you thought. But anyway, they still came out net positive last year in the portal compared to what they lost. And they lost some real players like DJ Matthews, Corey Durden,
Warren
Thompson, Jaden Lars-Woodby. They lost some players that actually played for them. And they still came out net positive in the transfer portal exchange, the great portal exchange of 2020. Now think about what they're losing now compared to what they can get. Like, they haven't lost. Jaden Lars-Woodby played a lot of football. Corey Durden was a very good defensive lineman when he was playing well. Warren Thompson had potential. DJ Matthews made some big plays for you during his time at Florida State. They haven't lost anybody that's done diddly squat for them. And theoretically, you're going to replace them all with guys that have produced at this level and played. So the disparity between what they're losing in the portal and what they're getting is should be even greater than last year. Much greater, probably, than last year.
But you're losing Jermaine. You're losing Kier.
No, but you're losing them from seniors. I'm just talking about because they're seniors. I'm talking about the actual portal exchange. Like last year, because I did a story after it was all over. Like
I get it. Like Jermaine and Kier, versus DJ Matthews and Jane Lars-Woodby. Yeah, you're net positive. But man, 2021, whatever we're here now, we haven't heard one guy through the portal yet, and you got to replace Jermaine, you got to replace Kier. That's just right there. That's a tough ask.
But I'm more looking at it like, of course, that's going to be tough to do. But they did it once, and they weren't as good a program. Now they're a better program than they were this time last year, and they have some proof that what they can do with transfers. And my point is just like they are going to. If last year was like they just had so much more production. They had more production from the portal last year than they gave up. This year could be triple or quadruple that because you have literally, and I don't want to jinx it. You have literally lost nobody that you were counting on, and nobody that had produced, nobody that was even like a young up-and-comer that you're like, oh, man, I'd like to see what he could do. He's just a freshman. Like, none of these guys that even you thought, man, there's potential there, like you did with maybe a Warren Thompson. But so the idea that they went from, being a 2-10 team to essentially a 6-6 team with that portal exchange helping a lot, what's this portal exchange going to look like? How much they're going to get exponentially better with what they're losing, pushing out the door, and what's coming in the door. Theoretically. Now, yeah, you're right. Nobody's committed yet. I think that might have to do with – do you think that has something to do with, like, they want to get through recruiting to signing day first? And
no.
Maybe they do have kids that want to commit and they're just not – because there aren't many big schools that are getting commitments right now. It happens occasionally, but when you look at that transfer portal Twitter account, and by the way, do I need to know every time a Buffalo wide receiver gets another offer from a Eastern Michigan or Western Michigan? Like, do I need to know that? Just tell me they're in the portal and be done with it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But you don't see a lot of big-time schools getting a flood of commitments right now.
Right.
I think maybe that happens after signing day is when the flood of the commitments will start. Maybe. I could be wrong.
Old Dad's a Nole, wake up. Guys, if you're not aware, Tyler Grubbs had 97 tackles. DJ Lundy, Kalen DeLoach had 69 each. He's also a freshman, and his coach is gone. My thoughts are you guys need to rev up that engine because he sounds like a natural at that position, and what better time to bolt for Tally? Are y'all in? Yeah, man, Grubbs belongs here. Come home. Come home, Tyler. Come home, Tyler.
It's about how many. I mean, I'm tired of pandering to him, though.
Yeah.
At some point, he has to know that's up to him. Like, we've made our indications quite clear.
Yeah.
We started a whole campaign last year, and it was crickets out there in Ruston. Yeah, it was just crickets. I bet you hear a lot of crickets in Ruston. You hear a lot of things in Ruston, I bet.
The athleticism displayed in the SEC championship game showed the glaring discrepancy between the haves and have-nots. I've stated that I, Old Dad, could win 8 games if I had Georgia's roster, and I'm not even a coach. Jermaine Johnson's all over the field on both teams at every single position. Georgia made it to the championship game in year 2 of that coach. We won't know how good Norvell can be until we get this roster to those levels. But you just said, though, you could win 8 games if you had that roster. So, like, do we need to have a 14-win roster to know that Norvell's good? I mean, anybody could win with a 14-win roster. I digress. Aslan does, at least. Being realistic, with the wild, wild west of the new portal, NIL monies being flaunted like NFL contracts and recruiting bringing up the rear as options, what do you guys think a timeline is for FSU to be elite again? I shudder to think, even though we've improved, that we would be near 24-point underdogs to those two teams. Hitting that Douglas Zaxby's Old Dad. Okay, what elite? I think elite is what 2015, 2016 Florida State football was. Sorry, everybody. Still think that's elite. Sorry, I just do. You beat your rivals. You go to New Year's Six Bowls. I'm cool with that. To get back to that, you hypothetically could get that done in 2022. You could. The way you can flip a roster, if Jordan Travis grows and develops the way you think he can, by all means, man, you can win 10 games and maybe sneak your way into a New Year's Six Bowl. Now, to win a championship, 23 would be the absolute earliest, and that's probably pushing it. I don't know. So it depends, I guess, what you define elite as. But I'm starting it now, man. I want 10 wins next year. I want 10 wins.
Boy. Yeah, hey, I want 12. I want them to win every game. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. Again, you can think that they're far away. As we just talked about, they're going to have 32 new players on this roster after putting, 25 new players on the roster last year. So I think Ira put in this column he wrote too. If they fill out all 32 of those positions that they'll have available or should have available, that means 70 of the 85 scholarship players on Florida State's roster will be Norvell guys, either transfers or recruits. 70 of the 85. So it is now his program. Now his recruits are still young, granted, but some of those guys coming in are big-time players that can play right away. And I guess your thought is, he's talking about 10 wins to me isn't, you would love to get there, but Pitt isn't elite. Pitt couldn't beat Georgia or Alabama, probably. Maybe if Stetson Bennett threw 4 pick sixes, which is certainly in his repertoire, it is possible that could happen. But Florida State could get to Pitt level, Wake Forest level, very quickly. Like, again, I'm not. This isn't the old days where it would take you a coach 5 years to replenish the roster and coach his own guys up. And look, man, look how much better Florida State's defense got in 1 year. Did Adam Fuller become just a much better coach? Or did, a couple guys came in that put the quarterback on his ass a lot. That helps. Sorry for the language there, everyone. I hope you're not driving your kids to your school. But that helps a lot. So you can bring players in that help you immediately. This offense can get much better if you get a couple of tackles, or these linemen get much better, and you get some receivers that can go make plays. You put them in one-on-one positions. If they go make plays, all of a sudden this offense goes from 29 points a game to 39 points a game. That can happen in a year. That's not too much to ask. I just don't know that player for player you're going to be a championship contender next year, because so many of your guys will be young. But a year or two from now, yeah, if this guy knows what he's doing and he's evaluating and developing, then yeah. Imagine Travis Hunter as a sophomore or junior. What's that going to look like? And with Travis Hunter on your team, how many other Travis Hunters are going to, maybe not Travis Hunters, but other really good players are going to come play for you? And then they're going to be sophomores when he's a junior. And you're still hitting the portal. Like, you could bring in 2 very big classes right in a row that by the time 2023 rolls around, it looks a lot like, I'm saying if, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It could look a little bit, maybe not a lot, a little bit like what you saw in the SEC championship game. Like, if you recruit at that level and develop well, yeah, you could look like that in a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to define elite as 10 wins, but when you keep winning 10 games over and over,
yeah,
and if you get to that level next year, I think you can sustain it. I think you'll then have the continuity of your staff. You'll have developed a culture, a formula of getting this thing rolling, and things to start waterfalling on top of that. You get that football only facility built. Maybe Clemson remains on hard times. And then, yeah, you're back sort of in the mix of that sort of stuff. So, because, people, hey, listen, man, Brian Kelly didn't just leave Notre Dame to go to a decent program. He went to an elite program. LSU did not win 10 games this season. If they would have played a full schedule last year, they would not have won 10 games that year. I don't even know if they won 10 games in 2017 or 18. They might have been 18. You know what I'm saying, everybody. You just get back to that level of winning consistently, winning big games, beating your rival. With the way things are in Florida right now, in Gainesville, who knows what's going to happen in Miami with Mario down there. But, hey, man, this is the time now to make this all happen. I want to see it now. There's plenty of runway, man. He's been given a lot of benefit of the doubt, a lot of good feelings. Ira posted a thread the other day about, hey, we've hit the 2-year mark. Where are you at? A lot of people excited. Be excited. Let's get some return. Let's get some return on this investment. But then again, it's only $4.5 million. Sucker. Get a better agent, Mike. Seminole life. Wake up, fellas. With the state of college football and the NIL, I sure do wish Mr. Al Dunlap was still around to help us through this financially, and he stopped his sentence. I got to host him for boosters back when we were trying to get him on board for the indoor. Sure do wish we had someone like that to start something similar like the Texas offensive line stuff or some kind of fund. I know we have other big donors, but not like him and his family. Crazy days these are. Appreciate all you guys do. Well, we got to do it the grassroots way, Seminoles life. We got to hit a bunch of singles. We got to manufacture runs. We're not power hitting team. Just everybody chip in that $50. Let's get some offensive line. Let's start a linebacker fund. And before you know it, man, we'll be climbing up there. But I don't know. Could we have squeeze any more out of Mr. Poor Al Dunlap if he was alive? I mean, golly, he did a lot. He did a lot.
Yeah, especially because he's not even an FSU alum, right?
Yeah.
Like he made his money the way he made his money. Go look it up. It's fine, whatever. But he did donate in the last a third of his life. He really did donate a ton of money to Florida State, and I should know that probably. But I'm almost positive he didn't go to Florida State and had no real ties to Florida State.
He ended up befriending Bobby at some sort of event and then gave all of his money to us. And I think even in his will, he left. They left. There was some estate planning to still funnel money to Florida State. So, yeah, he went above and beyond.
Well, hey, the Spanx lady is still out there.
Come on,
I don't know
Sarah.
what you have to do. I don't know what you have to do, Sarah.
Make it right.
I know that she had a viral video where I think she gave each of her employees like a $10,000 bonus when they sold the company. I can't remember if she sold the company or something happened where anyway she gave each employee $10,000, and there's a lot of employees, and then also gave them 2 first class plane tickets to anywhere in the world, anywhere they wanted to go.
Jeez, we just want, I don't know, we just want a slide and a chocolate fountain, Sarah.
But now imagine taking all that money, however much money that ended up being, and just saying, "Hey, Travis, man, give this to a couple of your buddies." That's all we need. That's all, Sarah. That's all we're asking for. That was probably a write-off anyway. So yeah, but there. I mean, it's not like Florida State doesn't have rich boosters. It's just maybe not as much as some of these schools that have been around for an extra 100 years. But they're still in they're graduating more. It's a great school now, and they're graduating more and more graduates all the time. We got to let like the generation of the 2000s hit. Somebody's got to. Do we not have any pharma bros or any tech bros? Can you not befriend Elon Musk or Bezos or somebody? Get somebody in there like Florida State. There's going to be a Florida State grad that's going to invent something incredible, and that's when the money will start raining down. Besides Spanx, which I guess it's an incredible invention. I don't quite understand what it does. Does it just? What do you know? I know it
keeps
kind of
everything tight, and there's no lines. You can't tell that it's being worn. It's just it's like invisible, and it just keeps everything all compact and streamlined, and gives you a good silhouette.
Is it translucent? Is it clear?
Yeah, it's like pretty. It's like
is it like pantyhose?
Very similar to that. Very similar.
Oh,
to that.
okay.
Yes. Like almost.
So it's like a body hose. It just
pretty
goes
accurate.
up your body to your armpit or something.
Well said. Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right, and then I guess when if things get to a cool place on the date, and things start happening. Well, I won't even finish that thought. It's a family show. I just was wondering, like,
it'll hurt your feelings.
Is it supposed to be a secret?
It is.
That you're wearing it? Okay.
Yeah, and then your feelings get hurt when you go to a wedding in Louisville and your date has Spanx.
When it comes to salads, the fresher, the better. That's why at Zaxby's, we don't make your salad until you order it. Try our brand new Southwest salad with fire-roasted corn, juicy tomatoes, crispy Santa Fe tortilla strips, and our new Southwest Ranch dressing. It's big enough to fill you up without weighing you down. The new Southwest salad. Get it fresh, get it customized, get it made to order. For a limited time, only at your neighborhood Zaxby's.
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's indescribably good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
M. Adams CZ, wake up! Big shout out to all the parents out there who coach their kids' sports teams. I'm in week 2 of coaching my 6th graders' flag football team. I'm constantly working on plays and trying to get them in the right position to move the ball. Let's just say it makes practicing law seem like a cakewalk. But I'm glad I'm doing it, and I highly recommend coaching flag football. And you'll get a few more gray hairs along the way. All right, shout out Coach Mark. Coach Adamczyk. Right. Coach nice. A. Let's go. What do you guys think of the reports of Florida and Miami going all in on football financially? Something for FSU to be concerned about and step up, ? Or do you think it's more of a narrative in the media to get their fans excited about their new hires? And what or when do you think will be the tipping point where FSU has to match Norvell's salary and resources accordingly? Thanks for all you do. And Corey, I thoroughly enjoyed your story about Brady's school play and the microphone staying on for the offstage comments. Go Noles.
I feel like before Christmas, I'm going to give an update on Brady and his love life because it's gotten a little bit out of control. They grow up too fast, and he doesn't listen to this. And I know, the young lady or ladies maybe that he's interested in probably aren't subscribed to Wake Up Warchant, so they would never listen to this, so it wouldn't overly embarrass them. But yeah, so we'll get back to that before Christmas because it is funny, especially as a dad going through this from the other side. It's like, golly, this is yuck. But anyway, look, man, Florida's always been committed. Miami is the one that for 20 years has just not kind of stepped up financially because they got by on the cheap for a long time. A lot like Florida State did, quite honestly, with Bowden in the 90s. until they made him the highest paid coach. Miami won so many games and did it a certain way, and then they thought that they could just, we won a championship with Larry Coker. We won a championship with Dennis Erickson. Like, it doesn't matter. Butch Davis almost won one, probably should have won one. Like, it doesn't really matter who the coach is. We are what we are. And then it turns out, the realities are you need, especially now, you need a coach that can galvanize that community and get those players on that campus. They don't just come there because they're from Miami anymore. So that's the one that you worry about if you're a Florida State fan, is them finally investing, right? Because Florida's always going to be invested. They've always had money. They're always going to have money.
Well, the rumor was, not the rumor, but I heard Andy Staples ask the question to Billy Napier about, it's been going on for at least 15 years here. I'm paraphrasing the question from Andy Staples to Billy Napier, the new head football coach at Florida, but it's been going on for 15 years here, getting the amount of money spent on the resources that you want. Can you kind of talk about that? And so apparently they have not had that overinflated khaki mafia that, resides in Tuscaloosa and Athens and other places. So it sounds like that's something that's finally going to happen. Dan Mullen didn't have a very large support staff when he was at Mississippi State. So I think he probably brought a lot of that with him to Gainesville, that sort of line of thinking. But Napier's been around Clemson. He's been around Alabama and
Florida State.
Yeah, right. So
State for that couple weeks.
He seems like one of those guys that really subscribes heavily to the I need guys pouring over everything, every detail, no stone left unturned. So Florida's step, it sounds like they might be entering a new kind of phase of how they approach spending money. But they don't do things on the cheap there. But they pay Napier as much as Cristobal, but I mean Cristobal has a better resume, I think, than Billy Napier. So
I don't think Florida State does it on the cheap, especially with regards to how much money they actually bring in. They spend a lot of what they bring in. They are not being cheap. They were not cheap with Jimbo. They made his assistants one of the top 5-7 highest paid assistant staffs in the country when he was there.
This
they
staff
were willing
is
to,
still top 10-ish.
Yeah, right. Top 10, top 15-ish. They pay. And, if Norvell goes out and wins 9 games, they will give him a contract worthy of that improvement. They are not going to want to go through this again where they lose another coach. Now, Jimbo I don't even know if that was a bidding war. It was just Jimbo wanted out, so he was out. But if they think Norvell is the guy, and in 5 years he's gotten them to 2 ACC championship games and won one and been in a playoff and has this thing rolling or close to rolling, I don't think they're going to just sit there and be like, oh, we can't afford him. So, all right, I guess he's going to Notre Dame. They will fight tooth and nail to keep him, because if anything has proven anything in these last 5 years, is it's not automatic that Florida State is going to be good. I was under that assumption. I was wrong. It can crater. And if you get a guy that's good, you do everything you can to keep him if he wants to stay. And again, that's the reference to Jimbo, because Jimbo didn't want to stay. So it wasn't like Florida State was like, we can't match that. Go ahead and go. Now they probably, who was going to match that anyway? But I don't think it was that as much as Jimbo just wanted out. If Norvell comes to them and says, look, Texas has offered me $9.5 million, I think Florida State gets as close as they can to that because they want him to stay. They know how important it is to have a good football coach and, more importantly, have a great football program. And it's been too long since they had one, Aslan.
Amen.
By the way, do they have Spanx for men?
I don't know. I'm sure, it's 2021. What is gender? But merely a construct, I would think.
Well, that's true. But I just feel like a male body, when it gets out of control, is a lot worse than, like, it's weird that, like, men, I guess just the way we are, and I'm not trying to be sexist. This isn't a show about this, but, like,
oh boy.
I feel like men don't have as, I don't know, like, why wouldn't grossly obese fat dudes want to use Spanx? Like, I feel like, and I say this because even today
they do. I just googled it. They have a men's collection. Because
I'm walking in my neighborhood, and man, there's some 320-pound dudes out there mowing the lawn without a shirt on. It's like, where's your embarrassment factor, buddy?
Whoa, 300. That you can carry it properly. It's that's.
Let me
fine.
say, this isn't carried properly. This is not like, wow, he's just built. It's like, oh boy, come on, man, put on a shirt.
We told people to eat fried chicken for 2 years, Corey. Let's not.
Well, you're right. You're right. Hey, whatever you guys want to do. I just thought I didn't want to come off as like we were talking about Spanx just for women and if they wore them, because I feel like there's a bunch of men that would probably want to wear that too. Yeah. And that's good that they have them. So they do have Spanx for men.
The Ultra Sculpt Seamless V-neck, only $68. It's a tight V-neck. It's a really, really tight V-neck with no seams.
And finally I can tell Stephanie something to get me for Christmas. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to tell her to buy me that for Christmas if I don't buy it for myself, and I'm going to wear it out, and I want to see what it looks like. I want to see, because I bet I'll feel really good about myself.
Yeah. But there is a fear that this is escalating. It kind of gets us into our next question, which might be our last question for the day. But, I mean, Oklahoma's about to shell out, I think they said close to $2 million a year to Jeff Lebby to leave Ole Miss to go home to Norman to be their OC. Man, there's nobody on this staff that's making anywhere near like $1.8 million a season. I think, Fuller is making $800. He is your highest paid assistant. This guy's got a 1 in front of that 8 or behind that 8. So it's going to escalate. It's going to get. I really don't know. I can't see Florida State saying no. Florida State is pot committed to being great at football, and they'll figure out ways. I hate to be really generic about it, but I just can't. You have to figure out a way. You have to figure out a way to get your kid new clothes for the first day of school. You have to find a way. Everybody does. It's a little bit different. I know. I'm not trying to be insensitive about anything. But this
you got to spend that $70 on Spanx if you're going on a first date. I got you.
So we go to our guy, Leroy, Get Down Black. Wake up, Ass Man and Sea Dog. My fiance T said, "Get you warm." Inside joke from our time with you at Corner Pocket, he says.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
What do you guys think of all this money being thrown around to the kids? Do you think they have to somehow put a salary cap on each program? I hate for some schools to turn into the Yankees and others to be Tampa. Why you got to hate on Tampa, Leroy? Then you can cap each position group. There's no way that's happening. I can see like an overall salary cap, but I can't imagine they're going to cap a position. Like, why should a running back make more than a linebacker, vice versa? I personally think, this is Get Down Black, that they should have one set price for every scholarship player on every team. So if $50,000 a year is the number, then it should be $4.25 million for 85 kids at every school. It would keep the playing field even and the kids stay hungry to get to the NFL. What do you guys think? When they break off, right, Corey, when this thing spins off, when the NCAA finally all the clothes are removed from the emperor and there's nothing left, there's no authority, and all these football first schools figure out this Super League, this new playoff, I would hope there's going to be 1 or 2 adults in that room that say we cannot have a world where an 18-year-old kid is making $3.1 million and is only going 9-3 at Oklahoma. We need to have bumpers. We need to have guardrails, a salary cap. That, I don't know. Call me naive. That's I'm holding on to that.
How do you do it for them and not the coaches? And it's been determined many times that salary caps are not legal. So
I don't think NFL teams don't have a salary cap on the coach.
They're collectively bargained though. They have a salary cap on their rosters, but those are collectively bargained by a union, and there's no union for these football players or these coaches really. So I don't think you could do that. I think what you could do is you have to prove. Right now the Wild West is that there's no rules. You don't have to prove that you're like that Kansas kid that caught the 2-point conversion. And they did the Applebee's commercial. Well, okay, we saw him do that commercial, so we know where that money's going. But what about anybody else? Like, how are you proving that you're even living up to the contract? I think that's what will be the next step with this. But who's going to enforce it? The NCAA doesn't have any. They don't have any care in this. They don't want to do this. They don't want to police this. But that to me is, and I think it was Emmert again maybe said that he thinks that like at some point Congress is going to have to get involved when it comes to these NIL deals, because they might be scams just to pay these kids, and they're not really living up to a sponsorship deal where they're actually doing anything for these companies. So that might be something that it might be curbed back and be more regulated because they are sponsorship deals. But I don't know, man. It's just is the horse out of the barn now? Can you reel that Bronco back into the barn, or is it just like we said, just the Wild West and everybody's out there going to do whatever they want, knowing that there's no real policing that goes on and no way to control it? Because Darren Ravel, who's just a idiot. We didn't know that before Twitter, by the way, but now we do. Twitter enlightens you on some people. Probably a lot of people with you. A lot of you think the same thing about me. It's like I kind of like Corey Clark until I heard him talk every day or tweet. But he was talking about how the Texas thing is just a straight scam. That it's especially the charity part of it, because the donors to the charity are writing that off as a tax exemption. So they're not really giving $50,000. They get to write it off as a charity, and then even if the Texas players don't do anything charitable, they still get the money, and it's not a write-off for them. It's just a write-off for the people making the donations, and so basically it's just a way to give them money for not doing anything. So maybe the NCAA or Congress will look into these deals, but man, I don't know what could be done. It's an odd situation. Maybe you get rid of the NIL deals and you just come up with, depending on what the new TV deal is when they go to playoffs, or if they break off into a super conference, and you have a salary cap for a football team. That's what you do. Each team has a $8 million salary cap to give to the players. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know how you police this NIL stuff, though.
All right, we're near an hour, and we have about a 15-minute segment with Ira, so let's go to that. We do have some questions left over. We'll either get to them next week, or we'll get to them here for a Friday show, possibly. We've come this far. Maybe we'll do a Friday show. But do know, 7 p.m. Thursday night, live show with Michael Langston talking recruiting, so that'll be very exciting. Join us for that. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant. On your way out, enjoy the information, the knowledge brought to you by our own Ira Schofel. Athletic director hiring, Ira, obviously with the football staff firmly entrenched under the leadership of Mike Norvell, who's now hit his 2-year anniversary. The athletic director position has been a focal point for Florida State fans. A quick little timeline here. David Coburn comes in on an interim basis in late 2018. In 2019, becomes a full-time AD, pretty much with the charge of balancing the books and the budget for the athletic department. Then about here in the last 10 days or so, news comes out that he's going to step down at the end of the spring semester. That would be 2022, or in his words, if they find somebody before then. Well, it sounds like they have found somebody before then. It would be Vince Tyra from the University of Louisville. That's a name that's been floated out there, and you've heard being the front runner for this position. On Wednesday, there was a University of Louisville Board of Trustees meeting, which took one of the obstacles between Florida State and Tyra's partnership out of the way. What are you hearing now, and where do we stand?
Yeah, so they did have that Board of Trustees meeting today. It's the third different meeting they've had up there behind closed doors up at Louisville to discuss the contract and figuring out a way to let Vince Tyra out of his contract if that's what he wants to do, because he did have a non-compete clause, which was really odd. Usually non-compete clauses are usually like in an area. Like if you're a salesperson in Tallahassee, they may say you can't go sell the same product in Tallahassee. You might take our trade secrets. This non-compete clause was something I've never seen before. It included basically any competitor in the ACC that Vince Tyra would have to wait at least a year before he could work for them. I think that my guess is Vince Tyra's attorneys and the Board of Trustees attorneys hashed that out and decided that it either wasn't enforceable or it wasn't worth trying to battle over. So they're going to let him leave. He's not having to pay anything. FSU is not having to buy him out of that. They're basically opening the door for Vince Tyra to leave. And Florida State, as you said, we've known now for several days that Florida State wants to be on the other side of that door and welcome him in to replace David Coburn and be FSU's next athletic director. The announcement hasn't been made yet, but I imagine it'll be happening really soon.
What do we know about Vince Tyra? You're obviously very plugged in with college administrators when it comes to the athletic world. What sort of reputation does he have? I know he's a bit of an outsider, but what have you heard from people that have maybe been in his orbit?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, obviously a really shrewd businessman. He had a long career before he got involved in athletics. This is kind of a second act for him. And really it came about because, he's an influential donor to Louisville. His father was a famous Louisville athlete. He played baseball actually at Kentucky, but he's a prominent Louisville donor, was very connected. And when they were having trouble, at some point the conversation happened to where they said, would you want to do it? I'm sure he was maybe pointing out things they should do differently. They end up giving him the job on an interim basis, and he ends up getting the job and being the full-time athletic director. As you said, he's somewhat of an outsider in the landscape of college athletics, but he's not in terms of business, and he's not in terms of the power structure of the ACC. From what we understand, he's got a very good relationship with Jim Phillips, the new commissioner of the ACC. We know that David Coburn, FSU's outgoing athletic director, really seemed to like him. They got along really well. So there are a lot of I would say obvious reasons why he would make sense, especially as FSU looks to be more forward thinking from a business standpoint. But yeah, from a traditional athletic director standpoint, this is not like going out and hiring a guy like Dave Hart, who's been a career athletic director or on that track. This Vince Tyra comes from a different track completely.
Fans, I'm sometimes part of them. They are a fickle bunch. I mean, you can look and see what people are saying about Lincoln Riley on Twitter from the Oklahoma standpoint, and it's like, hey, this guy was 55-10. He was pretty good. Louisville fans, maybe not with the most ardent fans, I guess, of Tyre's sort of tenure there in Louisville. But otherwise, I mean, outside of them, what is sort of the scouting report on him? Is he a well-liked guy, I guess, in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is. He's well respected for sure. And I think the concern from a lot of people inside the athletics department at Florida State was, what's he going to be like? Is he going to come in and clean house? He's not a guy with FSU ties. You and I, we've talked about this off air, but Florida State had some options to go with guys with FSU ties. They didn't go that route. They went with an outsider. So there's always going to be concern. Is this guy going to come in and is it going to be scorched earth or something like that? I don't know that that's the case. I do know that when he went to Louisville, he had a reputation of being kind of no nonsense at first. Really went in and kind of observed the situation and made some changes. He has hired some big time coaches there. He hired their basketball coach and their football coach. Neither one has had huge success yet. Which is what I think leads to the complaints you're talking about on social media from Louisville fans. But as you and I have talked about off air, Chris Mack was a great hire for them by all impressions. Lured him away from his alma mater at Xavier. That was a big time hire. It just hasn't really worked out yet. They're still kind of cleaning up the mess, probably from Pitino's regime. Scott Satterfield also seemed like a really sharp hire. It also hasn't worked out quite the way they had hoped. But from a standpoint of what he's going to bring to Florida State, I think the biggest thing is that business acumen and the connections. I mean, this is a guy who's been either a CEO or a board member or running equity firms and rubbing elbows with some of the wealthiest people in the Southeast, if not the whole country. So now you have somebody that's connected in those circles. And as you look at the future for college athletics, I think that's what's appealing to him more so than maybe how he's going to run, some of the day-to-day things in the athletics department.
I know it's hard to put yourself in the head of the decision makers at Florida State. There's a certain part of the fan base that's very vocal on tribal council that wanted to see maybe a guy like Michael Alford be promoted from within. He does have athletic director experience at Central Michigan. He's been involved in athletics at the University of Oklahoma, Dallas Cowboys. Jeff Purinton's a guy that's really popular in Florida State circles because he is a Florida guy. He is a Florida State alum. He's been at Alabama watching the blueprint, you would think. Do we know what maybe is it ultimately that business acumen, that outsider sort of vision that might have won him over other candidates, or is it simply a new president maybe just having a different vision from John Q. Seminole fan?
My impression is that they interviewed several people, and I think I don't know that all those people that you mentioned were interviewed, but I do know that they interviewed several people. And I think those people were definitely under consideration. I think that Vince Tyra really impressed them. I think some of the people involved had met him before, had known him, and were impressed by him before. So when he expressed an interest, I think they were kind of like, okay. And then as the interview went, I think Richard McCullough, the president, obviously for him to make this hire, had to be really impressed as well. I do think that, when you have a new president and when you have an athletics department like Florida State that I wrote about the other day that really hasn't had great internal leadership for a long time because of a variety of reasons, whether it was ADs that just did the bidding of the president or ADs that weren't very strong. It's been at least 15 years since Florida State's really had a strong AD. And I think Richard McCullough, being an academic type, he's never been at a school that had an athletics department. He came from Harvard and Carnegie Mellon. So this is a new experience for him. I think he wanted somebody who would come in, be very strong-minded, have a vision, have a plan. And my guess is in that interview process, he probably presented that plan to them of how he would take Florida State to the next level. And I think that's the key to this. I would remind all FSU fans that, the key right now, this is a pivotal moment for Florida State, going from this last 2 or 3 years with David Coburn, where they were trying to cut expenses and really trying to minimize damages from COVID and other maybe I would say mismanagement of finances that they had in the past, to now getting out of that. Soon you'll be done with the Willie Taggart, having to pay him off. You'll be in a better shape financially. The ACC network getting the deal with Comcast is going to bring in more money. So now the feeling is now's the time to start growing. It's not the time to really worry about pinching pennies anymore. So I think that's why one of the things that really attracted them to Vince Tyra.
And then lastly, that non-compete clause that was waived in the Wednesday meeting with the University of Louisville between they and Tyra. Where do we kind of go now timeline-wise, you think, Ira? I think also there was a sort of window of notice that he would have to give them that has also been sort of addressed. Is this something you think is going to wrap up here by the end of the week, or how sort of motivated is Florida State, would you assume, to get this thing wrapped up fairly quickly? Because, again, this really sort of has happened, relatively speaking, in the world of college athletics, and finding and securing an AD. This has gone pretty quickly, although he's not officially hired yet.
Yeah, I mean, usually an AD search might take might take months, because usually there's not a huge pressure to get it done. But I do think Florida State felt the need to just get going, get moving in a new direction. And if they could find the right person, they found it. I think Vince Tyra not being really happy at Louisville right now. There's been some documented situations with him and his president where maybe they weren't seeing eye to eye. So it just kind of all lined up where they could do this quickly. I think it's going to be really quickly. As you said, they waived that, I guess, the notice that he was supposed to have to give. So they also waived that. So I think it's going to happen really quickly. He wouldn't have gone to all those steps if they hadn't already agreed on terms through that search firm. Would you be willing to take this amount of money for this many years? Is this the job you want? And then now that it's been cleared, now Florida State can make the official offer. He can sign on the dotted line. I think it's going to happen really quickly, whether that's, tomorrow or the next day. I can't say for sure, but my guess is it'll be by the end of this week. I'd be surprised if it dragged on much longer. I would think for him to go through all he went through to get out of his position at Louisville, that I would think the negotiations are all done.
Ultimately, I don't want to use any hyperbole, but a very important hire for the future of Florida State athletics. Just, I guess, how do you foresee maybe here in the next few years playing out? How exciting of a time is this now, do you think, for the people that are involved in administration for Florida State athletics?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of it's to be determined. As an outsider, and I would encourage people who are fans of Florida State to be excited and to be hopeful that that they made the right hire and that he's going to do a good job. They're definitely giving him, I believe they're going to give him some freedom to make things happen. He's got a reputation for being able to bring in money, help build facilities. If Michael Alford stays, that's going to be something we all have to kind of watch. If Michael Alford wanted the job and isn't happy, he didn't get the job, then who knows, maybe he would look at other opportunities. But if he stays, the job he's done with Seminole Boosters in terms of raising revenue, increasing the donor base, then you bring in a business-minded AD who's got more of a mandate to go make things happen. I really think this could be an exciting few years. Now, I can't predict the future. I can't say that this was a great hire. I wasn't part of the process, but that's what you're hoping, that this is the start of really Florida State athletics moving into a next era after really 10 to 15 years of just kind of treading water.
Again, stay connected to warchant.com as Florida State's top target for the athletic director spot, Vince Tyra, is nearing a conclusion here. When it does become official, you'll be wanting to be at warchant.com and get the latest from Ira and everybody tuned in and plugged into Florida State athletics that works for warchant.com. Don't forget, Thursday, we've got a live recruiting chat coming up with Michael Langston at 7 p.m. right here on our YouTube channel. Anything else that people need to know about that's going on over at warchant.com, Ira?
Yeah, man, tons of recruiting. And I just posted something, which kind of bums me out that this just happened, because I just posted a piece that I think a lot of people are interested in, was doing really well traffic-wise, kind of breaking down the numbers of this signing class, how Florida State could get to maybe bringing in 32 players between signees and transfers, and then how that has to happen, how much more attrition they need, and where they're at, who is left, how many more players need to leave for them to be able to bring in 32 new players. And if they do that, what would that mean for this roster that Mike Norvell, has really overhauled over the last 2 years? So that's up on the website as well.
Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.